Back once again with the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB as we talk a little Chiefs football here on a Friday morning. If you're catching us via the podcast, remember you can be a part of the conversation. Fridays at 10 a.m. We've got a little, a history lesson, an educational video for you today where we are bringing you what the Kansas City Chiefs, from our perspective, should learn from each of the 7 AFC championship teams. Of course, Denver Broncos, England Patriots, Jags, Steelers, Texans, Bills, Chargers. What are the Chiefs supposed to be taking away from those teams? We're talking about it right here, right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Friday. And gentlemen, when we do something like this, one of the things I think is always kind of nice to set the table is, did you learn anything from this? Anything shock you? We're going to get to what it was, but anything jump at you as you went looking for what the lessons are, Jeff, that you're like, wow, I didn't think I was going to be here when I went down this road?
The lesson I took away from it was that the Chiefs have a lot of work to do because it wasn't that hard to find things you could take away from each team. Sometimes it was more than 2 or 3 things I took away from each team. So I had to really condense some of my points. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that other teams are doing better than the Chiefs are right now, which I think we all knew based on how the year ended for them.
Yeah. Sam, anything jump at you?
Yeah, I think it subtracts the fluky nature of the Chiefs missing the playoffs because, I mean, you look at these teams and the Chiefs are familiar with these teams in a bad way. They lost to almost all of them this year. They were 0-8 against the playoff field and 0-7 against these teams that we're dissecting today.
Yeah, that's what I had the same impression. I was like, okay, any idea that no, this was injuries like that got us, like, because that's one of the points I'm going to make. Like, no, like it definitely they slipped in a number of different places, and they're going to have to figure out how to get beyond that if they're going to get back to where they are. We're going to take them from top to bottom, 1 through 7. So we'll start up at the top with the Denver Broncos for their lesson. We get done, we'll also make our predictions for what's going to happen in this wild card round. So a lot going. So let's start up with the Denver Broncos. Jeff, do you want to lead here? What did the Denver Broncos, what'd you come away with learning from the Denver Broncos?
As far as the Chiefs are concerned, make smarter personnel decisions, because when you look at the Denver Broncos, even if you aren't a Bo Nix fan, you have to appreciate the moves they've made over the last 3 years since Sean Payton has been there. You look at their free agent moves, guys like Zach Allen and Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers and Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, and then look at their draft picks. You're talking about guys like Nick Bonito in the 2nd round, and Jonathan Cooper was, I think, a 4th round pick or a 5th round. Maybe lower, maybe it's a day 3 pick. Riley Moss was a 3rd round pick. And really, remember all the people who were complaining about them not taking Justin Fields when he was available and they needed a quarterback and they took Patrick Surtain the 2nd instead? They've made a lot of smart decisions and built a pretty good team, very deep team. So deep, in fact, that their 1st round pick this year, Janae Barron, didn't even have to contribute very much for them to be the top seed. So look at what the Denver Broncos have done as far as identifying talent and putting it on the field.
Yeah, I think that I've got one that's kind of similar, Sam, if you want me to go here,
Yeah,
because
sure.
my view, the way I put it was kind of down that road. It's possible to build a great defense without a bunch of high picks. When you talk about that defense, you heard Jeff rattle off a number of the different free agents. The Broncos have only 3 players that are starting for them on defense that they personally drafted in the first 2 days of the draft. So, like when you look at their depth chart, they have sorry, that's the Chiefs depth chart. When you look at their depth chart, the only ones are Pat Surtain Jr. And then they got a second round pick in Nick Benito, and then off the bench he plays a lot, Jahdae Barron. That's it. That's all that there's their only ones. And so when we see the Chiefs, to me, what that said from a Chiefs perspective, we see FAU be drafted and not play. If he's not really what you want, don't draft him. Go draft somebody else. Go draft a different position. Draft an offensive player, because the Broncos, a lot of, when you look at who their frontline guys are that will start, unrestricted free agent, trade, a 7th round pick, unrestricted free agent, 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, unrestricted free agent, street free agent, 1st round pick, college free agent. That's their front 12 for the Denver Broncos. I mean, I think it shows that the frustration that Chiefs fans have had with some of the missed picks, like, even the Josh Kandos and guys like that don't ever get on the field for the Chiefs. If you don't like them, draft something else. Draft something that you're going to get on the field. That was my takeaway from the Denver Broncos. Sam, what'd you have?
I think you have to learn to win when we're not at your best. That's what made the Chiefs so good in 2024. They were 12-0 in one-score games, and a lot of those games they were pulling the rabbit out of the hat late. And this year the Broncos had that magic. I mean, they outscored the Eagles 18-0 in the 4th quarter to win a game where they were terrible for 3 quarters. They scored 33 points against the Giants just to beat them by 1 point. They had to kick a game-winning field goal to beat the Jets in London. They beat the Texans, Raiders, and Chiefs in 3 consecutive weeks by a field goal. They stopped a 2-point conversion to beat the Commanders after their defense collapsed in the 4th quarter and overtime of that game. So I think, when you grade – what I am constantly saying whether or not I think a team is going to be good, it's based on how they're playing every down. But when you're talking about how the teams are lined up at the end of the year, it's these teams that get wins when they're not very good on that day, and they still find a way to win. And that's what the Chiefs just couldn't figure out a way to do in 2025.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, that is like, I'm a big believer in the phrase, good teams find a way to win close games. Right? Bad teams, like you always hear the bad teams. Well, we lost 5 games by a total of 19 points. Yeah, I know. That shows consistency in what you're doing. You suck when it counts, right? And the Chiefs were excellent last year. They weren't this year. I think that's a big part of it. All right, let's move to the New England Patriots. What's the takeaway from the New England Patriots there, Jeff?
Have your coach be more of a CEO, and this is twofold. Get better at special teams. Because Mike Vrabel stepping into that franchise, he's done a lot of good things there, but I do think there's value in being somebody who has their hands on more than just the offense from where Andy Reid sits at this stage of his career, which I think would make him have to go out and find an OC to do more work. But I think that the way this team is built and some of the things that they've had go wrong for them in terms of penalties, and I just think the lack of development, that he needs to be more involved in some of this stuff and make sure it's happening, because he does see a lot of responsibility to, a very accomplished, experienced group of assistants, but something's falling through the cracks. And so I think Mike Vrabel is very good at touching all elements of the team. And then special teams wise, they've been hitting it out of the park. I mean, they've had 3 different players be AFC Special Teams Player of the Week: the kicker, the punt returner, and the kick returner. And so that tells you they understand. And Dave Toll's been amazing for most of his career, but their special teams have been horrible. And that was a big part of why they lost some of these games too.
Yeah, that's a huge, going to have to be a huge point of emphasis if Dave Toll is back, right? We'll see. I think we all agree that he's probably going to be one of the guys that's back, but they're working through the coaching staff. They've had 1 casualty now. I think there might be more. We all know one thinks Nagy's going to be back. So we'll see what happens there. Sam, what did you take away from the Patriots?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots are a little bit fluky this year. So I'm going to say, like, when the schedule matters, when you have a first-place schedule, you cannot make the playoffs simply by beating up on the bad teams. And that's what the Chiefs did this year. And to be honest, that's what the Patriots did this year too. But they have a much different schedule. They have, like, the easiest schedule in NFL history this year. They only beat 1 team that had a winning record, and they also lost to that same team later in the season. Yet here they are at 14-3. They went 1-2 against teams with a winning record. But when you're playing a first-place schedule and in a division that features 2 other playoff teams, you can't make the NFL playoffs just by winning the easy ones. The path to the postseason is going to require you grinding out big wins, and the Chiefs flopped in every big game they had this year. And I already mentioned the stat as sort of the learning lesson on the overall thing, but 0-8 against the playoff field and 0-7 against the AFC playoff field. Like, when you play in a good division, when you play good teams, like, you don't have the Patriots path of old in the easy AFC East. You don't have some of the AFC South paths that the Texans have had until this year. Like, you're in a tough division, and that's going to be the future for a while. And you are going to have to win games against good teams to make the playoffs.
Okay. How many of the Chiefs' top 12 defenders, what right now is listed as their first unit defense, how many of them are draft picks of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Of their 12?
Of their 12. So throwing the nickel in there, it's an extra.
What do you mean top 12? And
well, I'm just saying the starting unit.
Yeah,
I'm just adding the nickel in. So you've got your base 7. You've got all 3 of the linebackers: Dana, Tranquil, Bolton. Tranquil, Bolton.
You've got Tranquil. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you're counting Naughty or not, because he.
The bottom line is, let me just put it this way. I'll make it easy for you. That's not the point. The point is they're loaded with draft picks.
Tranquil, just Tranquil.
Yeah, the Tranquil came from outside. Jerry Tillery, you want to put him up there, came from outside. Christian Fulton, as they finished the year, came from outside. But even those guys are guys that stepped in for guys like Derek Naughty. But Naughty's left and come back, so I wouldn't even really consider him a draft pick at this point. The point of this is the New England Patriots defense is almost exclusively free agents. 9 of their 12 are guys that came from someplace else. It's a little bit of the theme of the Denver Broncos. Like, they basically went into an offseason and went out and shopped and did not blow up with the biggest free agents out there. They got free agents that were cost effective, and they built the defense. Now, where they did spend money where they do have guys in the draft, Marcus Jones at nickel, Christian Gonzalez at corner, Craig Woodson at safety, and then Christian Barmore at defensive tackle. By the way, their first, fourth, and second.
There's a little bit of a flaw in that, which is the Patriots defense sucks.
Yeah, but my point is, I'm not saying the point is that they were able to. I know, and it sucked last year. But the point is, they went out and didn't just blow all their draft capital on their defense. They were able to put a defense on the field that they've won with, that came from free agents. Like, will they in the future come around and make draft picks? Yes. But my point is this, like, to me, the frustration that I see with the Chiefs is a lot of draft picks that don't play, right? Like, whether it's don't play right away or don't get out there. And there are players that, to me, defense is more scheme. And we've seen that. We've seen them win without Trent McDuffie. We've seen them, like, it's there, but they seem to have this feeling that they've got to go equip. It's kind of like the college coaches. Well, I'm paying a guy $12 million. And what's the first thing the college coach says? Well, we need more money for our NIL. Well, what am I paying you for? Right? Steve Spagnuolo is the highest paid defensive coordinator in football, and they give a lot of resources to him, which is fine. I get it. But to me, there are quality free agents that are out there. The idea that you can't help your defense and that all your draft picks, because to me, they've had problems on the offensive side of the ball. They have to draft better. We all agree that this year's going to be a big one because they pick higher. But I mean, when I look at it, everybody wants to draft their team, and it's all there. This one is loaded with free agents. Even up on the offensive side, there's all kinds of moves. I mean, it comes back to Mike Vrabel brought in a bunch of guys from outside on both sides of the ball, and to me, it incorporates what you said, Jeff, about being a CEO. And they coached everyone together. And there's a lot of times like, well, we can't lose this guy because he knows our scheme. Mike Dana can go. There's a Mike Dana everywhere, right? Giving Mike Dana extra money because he knows your scheme, I'm not buying it, right? Like, I think there's quality players that are available, and they put too much of an emphasis on keeping their guys together. This is a whole bunch of guys. Schedule is the biggest reason why New England's at the number 2 seed, but I think they're a much better team, and they've done it with a bunch of guys from someplace else. I think that's a huge part of what the Chiefs have to get better at, is identifying who they really need to keep and who they can let go, because there are guys that are serviceable players that are out there. You just got to go find them. And to this point, they haven't been able to do it.
What's interesting real quick is people forget or don't remember that, or don't recognize that when New England won their first championship, when they went to that drought in 2014, they went out and signed Darrelle Revis. to a short-term deal, paid him pretty good money, and he was a difference maker. He was still one of the best cornerbacks in the game, maybe the top 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a big difference. And then they went out a few years later and they signed Stephon Gilmore, who became a defensive player of the year, who was a foundational piece. And you think about the Chiefs' 2 biggest free agent moves on defense, it's been Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed. And so there is a lot of value in making those kind of decisions.
Yeah, and they need to be better at it here moving forward. All right, we'll move on here in a minute. First, let's hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. All right, moving on to the number 3 seed here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are up next. What's your takeaway from the Jags, Jeff?
Build a better supporting cast around your quarterback, because I look at what the Jaguars have done with Trevor Lawrence, who's not the same category of talent as Patrick Mahomes, and he's playing out of his mind right now, probably because Liam Cohen's done a great job, but they've been willing to go out and get weapons for him. And I think about that midseason trade they made for Jacoby Myers. That's been a godsend for them. They already had Brian Thomas, who was first-round pick last year with a 1,200-yard season as a rookie. He wasn't figuring things out. He's playing better for them now, but they had the luxury of going out and finding a receiver to take slack away from him. Travis Etienne has been a really good run back for them. They don't have a great run game, but he's been a guy who's been a threat. And I just think that makes a huge difference in what a quarterback does, knowing you've got weapons around you. I watched them play Denver a few weeks ago when they beat them by 14 points, and they had a guy, Parker Washington, who's their third best receiver, who was killing it on like 140 yards receiving and was toasting Riley Moss in that game. You've got to get better individual talent around the quarterback so he can feel more confident in what he's doing, and I think it's all on him.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because Sam, you got something similar? Because I'll jump in on this one if you want, because I was looking at it and I thought I was going to find that Trevor Lawrence had played way better, right? But if you look at his QBR numbers for his career, 39, 56, 57, 56, 58. Like, he, according to QBR, is roughly the same guy, yet they're better. And his traditional quarterback numbers, he went from 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions last year to 29 and 12. I mean, mine is scheme matters, right? Like, they move off of Doug Peterson and an Andy Reid approach to things and go to Liam Cohen, who has a different approach. By the way, Liam Cohen, a guy that the Chiefs tried to hire, I think, as their quarterback coach. I can't remember, when he was bouncing around between Kentucky and he went to Kentucky Rams, Kentucky Bucks, I think maybe. He was like, well, he's been 1 year every stop for like 6 years. And I know his name was being floated around as a guy that the Chiefs were trying to get. Well, it clearly matters, because I think Trevor Lawrence, you look at it and he's probably playing better. QBR is just one way to look at it. His passer rating is a second best, 91 this year, which is still not spectacular. Yet obviously the talent around him is better. I'm with you. You mentioned Parker Washington. He was the first Jag taken in our NFL playoff fantasy draft last night. So he was, he's clearly making an impact there. The talent matters, but I think scheme matters as well. And I think Cohen clearly has fit in really well and taken the players he has and made it work very well with the Jaguars. So to me, that's a sign that the scheme is really important. Sam?
Yeah, I think those are good ones. I've got that the big play changes everything. And the Jaguars were a team that's built on the big play. The NFL is built on the big play. And you think about the biggest negative play the Chiefs had this season. It came in Jacksonville, that 99-yard pick six. That was a 12.7 point swing in terms of EPA. The Chiefs didn't have a play worth even half of that all year. Like, what was the Chiefs' biggest play this year? What do you guys think was the biggest EPA play of the year they had?
Oh God, man, was it the 51-yarder to Hollywood on the other just this last weekend?
Didn't
It was
Tyquan Thornton have that catch? How long was that in Giants game?
Yeah, that was about 30-something yards. It was Mike Dana's lucky interception against the Commanders,
Right.
which had 6.6 EPA. The Jaguars led the AFC with 31 takeaways. The Chiefs were second to last with 14. And you look at it, it's not just turnovers. The Chiefs went the entire season without a defensive touchdown, the entire season without a special teams touchdown, without really a big return on special teams. They were dead last in the league in explosive rushes. They were middle of the pack in explosive passing plays. The Jaguars were ahead of them in both. Like, they couldn't accumulate big plays in any of the three phases.
Everything was
The
hard.
game. Yeah, everything became difficult, and the Jaguars just turned games on turnovers. And a lot of that, is not consistent. The Jaguars find a way to make the explosive play consistent, the takeaway consistent, and that's why they're where they are.
Yeah, you can't count on it, but you need to be able to do it consistently. If it's not happening, you've got a problem. I love that one. I think that's a great one. All right, let's move to the Steelers, the 4 seed. Jeff, where do you go with Pittsburgh?
Don't bet on aging players. And this relates to Chris Jones, and for future discussion, it relates to Travis Kelce. Pittsburgh put a lot of investment into the idea that some guys who are getting old, long in the tooth could still keep getting it done. It really affected them on defense. I mean, Hayward has been around. He's like 36 years old. TJ Watt obviously is over 30. Darius Slay didn't even finish the season with them. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been up and down, but they believe that they could actually go out there and make it work with experience and Gil and Savvy and all this stuff. I think over time that just plays out. This is a young man's league, and if you have too many guys in premier roles and you're asking them to be difference makers, like superstar level players or close to what they've been, you're taking a big risk. And the Chris Jones deal, when he signed it, we all said it was a risk. We all understood why it was worth the risk because of the three-peat, and now you're paying the price for it. He is never going to be what he was before, and that will drag this defense down. And if they think Travis Kelce is going to keep doing what he's been doing, they're making a big mistake too.
Yeah. All right, Sam?
Respond to adversity. I mean, I looked at the Steelers' schedule this year. They lost 4 games by double digits. You know what they did the next week, all 4 weeks? They won. They lost to the Browns in a chance in Week 17 to clinch the division. You lose to the Cleveland Browns. What do you do the next week? You come back and beat the Baltimore Ravens. It was a team that responded to adversity all year long, and the Chiefs spent the entire season repeating their mistakes. They were atrocious in the fourth quarter, and their 8 losses that Patrick Mahomes started, they either had the lead or they had a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter, and they looked like a team that expected something to go wrong because the evidence told them that something had gone wrong in that spot. The Steelers looked like a team that did not care what happened the week before. They played that game, and they corrected the mistakes from a week before, and that was what we didn't see from the Chiefs all year long.
I like that. I think that's a great one. I didn't realize that they'd bounce back so well in each one of those. Mine is culture matters, and then don't spend on DK Metcalf. Like, Aaron Rodgers was a disaster with the New York Jets, right? Like, it did not work, and he was the same, know-it-all, quirky guy at the podium with the Pittsburgh Steelers that he was with the Jets, but it all worked, and they kept coming back, and I think that's the culture of Mike Tomlin. It may be time sometime in the near future, maybe even at the end of this year, for Mike Tomlin to move on, because I do think you can wear out. Jeff, you said it in our last podcast. Al Davis told you about 10 years is how long they go. It's been long past 10 years. The diminishing returns of coaches. Once you go a little while, if you've been a Super Bowl coach, you go a while, you don't really generally tend to turn it back in the right direction. I think Mike Sando said, Don Shula coached 22 years after his last Super Bowl win. He did have a couple of Super Bowl appearances, but I think he went his last 11 without a Super Bowl. But Mike Tomlin creates a great culture, and it matters. And that's a little bit, I think, of responding to adversity is partially because of the culture. But also, I mean, they immediately went out and got DK Metcalf, and he really was just an average guy. And that was the other thing, you're going to have to find the wide receiver, I think, ideally, in the draft. because DK Metcalf has been the white whale for Chiefs fans for years, as we know. And the production doesn't really match up for how much people ogle DK Metcalf. Looks great getting off the bus, plays pretty good, but not spectacular. They put a lot into him. So I wonder where they would have been if they'd have done it differently with other wide receivers. Could they have been even further down the road for the Pittsburgh Steelers? All right, Texans are the 5 seed. Where do you go with the Texans, Jeff?
This is a hard one, but I think it's still doable when you look how the Texans are built. It's build a dynamic defense again, because you go back to 2023, they had that, and they won the championship with it. And I know the Texans are a defense-led team, and so they've got a lot more resources in that side of the football. But, you don't have to go out and find a Will Anderson. You don't have to go out and find a Derek Stingley, but you're going to be in position to get at least somebody of that caliber with this pick, a top 10 pick. And so I look at guys like Azeez Al-Shaair, who was a free agent addition. I look at guys like Kwame Lassiter, that safety, Jalen Petrie, who was lighting up everybody in sight when they played the Chiefs. Adding pieces that make you dynamic on all 3 levels, I think matters more than anything in this league right now when you're playing top tier defense. And you see that in Seattle, you see that in Denver. So adding a defense that isn't just about great pass rush and a whole bunch of guys who are able to play within the scheme and understand what to do, but adding guys who can be difference makers. Like Sam mentioned, the whole thing about EPA and explosive plays. That defense plays like they're going to win a game. And they have to get to that point with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a good one. Sam, what do you got for the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, similar, but just to take a more specific piece of that, like you have to get after the quarterback. It changes everything. The Texans have the number 1 defense, and in terms of yards they give up, nobody's better on a per play basis against the pass than they are. And they have some talent in their secondary for sure. I mean, Stingley's a terrific cornerback, but their secondary has a lot of help because they never blitz. They get to throw numbers in the secondary because they've got 2 guys on the edges. Will Anderson Jr. is 2nd in the league in pressures. Danielle Hunter's 8th in the league in pressures. And when you have those guys, like, they don't have the best pressure rate in the league, but it's because they bring 4 all the time. They blitz the 4th least frequent in the league. The Chiefs had to have the 3rd highest blitz rate in the league because their edges do not bring the pressure that the Texans do. And look, no team brings the edges that the Texans have, but there's got to be a middle ground there. And the Chiefs have to find a way to get home with 4 and not have to have Steve Spagnuolo be dialing up all this stuff on 3rd down that, let's face it, did not get home this year at the same rate because other teams know there's a blitz coming from somewhere because this team knows they can't get home with 4 on this 3rd down.
I had pass rush down as well, but I've tried to put a couple down for each one, and so I'm going to go with 82 for 777. That's what Dalton Schultz gave the Texans at the tight end position, and he cost $6 million. Right, like the Travis Kelce year is over. Right, like when you come back to being just a good tight end, unless he wants to play for good tight end money. If he wants to play for $6 million, which is what the Texans are paying Dalton Schultz, then I can see a path towards Travis Kelce playing in Kansas City. But the days of paying Travis Kelce big money need to be over. I think you can get that quality production is out there. There are a lot of tight ends in the league that I think if you scheme right, you will scheme. The tight end gets lost in the shuffle. And I think if you get wide receiver right, tight ends can live a really good life when you scare people on the outside. And I think, Nico Collins is maybe part of that equation as well with what he does in that game. So I'll put that part in there. So Sam,
I totally agree with the money aspect of that. I will point out that Kelce had more yards, more touchdowns, and more yards per catch than
Kelsey's better. I'm not saying Dalton Schultz
on the money aspect. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying Dalton Schultz is better. I'm saying you can get 80-90% of Travis Kelce. What Travis Kelce is today, you can get for a fraction of the price. And that's not to say don't run Kelce off. It's to say the numbers got to come way down, right? He's not a difference-making player at this point in his career. I think that's just going to change. All right, we come back. We got the last couple of teams. We still got the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Chargers to get to, plus our predictions. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait. Get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222. Or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, we're ready for the Buffalo Bills. The lesson to take away from the Buffalo Bills is what, Jeff?
I think we're all going to have the same answer on this one.
This
run,
was
run the
V1,
damn ball. Run the damn football. I think it's a pretty easy one for the Bills. And maybe to make it a little more of add more nuance to it, convince the coach and the quarterback that it's worth it to be more creative with your run game and more diversified with it. Because I give Josh Allen a ton of credit because he could have bucked on this when they brought in Joe Brady. He bought into what Joe Brady was selling a few years ago, and it's helped his career out immensely. Being willing to say, okay, I don't have to always be Captain America, save the day, do all the Superman stuff to superhero stuff to win games. I can hand the ball off. I can take advantage of a good offensive line, control the turnovers better, and I can still do the plays or make the plays that win games. I think it's allowed Buffalo to stay viable when a lot of people thought they were going to tail off when they started spending all that money and they got into a more expensive contract with him. And so I do wonder if, as much as we talk about the run game and drafting a running back, if Andy can do it and if Patrick's going to embrace it, because for this team to move forward offensively, that has to happen.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I just make the quarterback's life easier. I mean, Josh Allen is the face of the Bills, but they're one of only two teams in the NFL this year to run the ball more than they passed it. And it helps when you're really good at it. And they were third in success percentage, second in explosive rushes, first in rush yards over expectations, third in EPA per rush. I mean, and that's what makes your quarterback's life easier, is because teams have to play the run. They face the fifth fewest light boxes in the league this year. So when Josh Allen drops back, he's not looking at this crowded defensive backfield wondering where he's going to throw the ball. And I've mentioned where the Chiefs are in all those numbers. I mean, they're bottom five in basically every important metric as far as running the ball. And it sure made Mahomes' life harder this year. So you've got to make your quarterback's life easier in some fashion. And the run game's the easiest way to do it.
I have a run game one down there, but I'll go with my other one that I had, which is manage the cap for late value. And that is the Joey Bosa equation for them. You know, the New England Patriots used to run, their rule of thumb was that they wanted to run 10% below the cap at all times so that if an opportunity came up, they could make it happen. The Chiefs have been running right up against the cap and then moving money around on players. And I'll come back to Trent McDuffie's a great player. The Chiefs are better with Trent McDuffie than they are without him, but they still played good defense without him. No one guy other than the quarterback means everything, right? You think you got to have a guy. You think you got to have Nick Bolton. You don't. You think you got to have Trey Smith. You don't. Any one of these guys you could move on from and replace most of it. And if that allows you to be better at four other spots, you know, Joey Bosa was the single biggest reason why they lost to the Buffalo Bills. And they were able to get him on a 1 year. I think it's about $9 million, maybe with incentives that go to 12. I can't remember what the number is total, but it was a 1 year deal. And to me, like, do I want to give Joey Bosa a 5-year contract with, you know, all this money guaranteed after all the injuries? No, but there's no such thing as a bad 1 year deal. And you get a guy that, you know, has that kind of talent. That's where the Patriots, they traded for Randy Moss. Yeah, because they could bring in Randy Moss's contract, right? That was part of the reason why they were able to get him. And, you know, whether it was the Junior Seau additions or whoever it was along the way, they were always running below the cap so that when an opportunity came about, they could do it. And I think the Bills did that with Joey Bosa, and I think it was an important part for them early on in the year. I think running the ball is definitely the biggest lesson. But I wanted to add that because I think the Bosa move was a big difference between these two teams. If Joey Bosa's on the other side of George Karlaftis, I'll bet you Chris Jones isn't taking as much crap now because they spend a lot more time fanning their protection, and Chris Jones working a lot better on the inside. Your big investment on Chris Jones would have looked a lot better as well. And I'm in agreement with what Jeff said earlier. Chris Jones is not going to be what he was, but I think they could have used a dynamic pass rusher. And if he played 9 games, the 9 games he played, he would have made a difference. And the Chiefs just that wasn't even a possibility for them. And I think that's they've got to change how they manage their cap. All right, the Chargers, the 7 seed, Jeff. Where are we going there?
Coach your guys better. Develop talent. Because I look at the Chargers and what they went through. Sam mentioned adversity. Most teams lose 2 Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber offensive tackles, and your quarterback's playing with a broken hand, you're going to have a hard time winning games. And this team's in the playoffs for the 2nd straight year because they got a lot of guys who a lot of people may not have heard of, but they play well for them. And it's from Rondé Gadsden to Tuli Tuipulotu to Cam Hart to Tarheed Steele. Quentin Johnston was a bust in the making until Jim Harbaugh showed up. He's had 16 touchdown receptions the last 2 years. Yeah. They got to take a defensive tackle and turn him into a fullback. It's Scott Matlock. They take all these guys, and you're like, where are they coming from? And all of a sudden, they're winning games with them, and they're playing prominent roles. And so you can't say that about the Chiefs and some of the guys that they've drafted in lower rounds or picked up in free agency. Maybe 1 or 2. But for the most part, they're not getting that same level of production. And that depth matters when you start going through tough times.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I remain a big Jim Harbaugh fan as a coach, and I think he clearly can coach. Sam, what'd you have for the Chargers?
Yeah, I'll go with the different one because, my initial one was injuries are not an excuse, which I think is
then let me go with that now. Mine is injuries are a problem for everyone, but they're an excuse for no one when you see what they did with the tackles. So I'm glad Sam's going to go to a higher level because I went bottom feeder on the Chargers, and I don't have a backup one for that. So I'm gonna plug that one in here, right here. I mean, they coached around the injuries, man. Everyone has injuries. That's about as big as it gets. I mean, they not only lost both their tackles, but they're high-level tackles. They're built around the fact that they could just one-on-one and not worry on either side, and here they are still in the playoffs. While the Chiefs are talking about, well, we had a lot of injuries, so they don't go to the playoffs. It's tough to say that when the Chargers are in there and you're not. So, Sam, but I appreciate you letting me take the bottom feeding there. You go to
yeah. Well, that is what I mean. I wrote about this too, and that is what I put down when I wrote about it. So. I'll just say I think you can diversify your weapons and make your scheme fit your weapons because Quentin Johnson and Ladd McConkey are nothing alike, and the running backs even have diversity there. So the Chiefs had this don't get tackled for a loss in their backfield, but no explosiveness out of their backfield, and the receiving game. I mean, Jeff talks about it more than any of us. They have a lot of undersized players who are fast, but aren't necessarily the best route runners that the league offers. And the one time that they did try to diversify their room, I mean, Rashee Rice became their best wide receiver. And I think when you just talk about him from a talent perspective and an on-field perspective, but the Chargers have made it work with 2 receivers who I think Ladd McConkey got passed up by a lot of teams, including this one. And like Jeff mentioned, Johnston was a bust, and they made it work with him. They said, okay, this guy's a great red zone threat. He can make plays happen on jump balls. The Chiefs don't have a jump ball wide receiver. And so I think they've got to be able to just get talent, even if it's one premier talent within a specific player, and make it fit with what they do.
Yeah.
Who's the guy, the running back, their 3rd string running back, McDowell?
Yeah.
He was better than anybody the Chiefs had this year.
Well, there were a lot of teams that had two, even 3 running backs better than anything that the Chiefs had, I thought.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I would agree, and I like what you said about the diversification of the type of players that they have. I think that's an important part of the equation as well. All right, so there's our lessons, 21 lessons to be learned by the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll send that over, package it up, get it over to Andy Reid and Brett Veach's mailbox. I'm sure they'll be eager to break this down. If they're not already watching today, guys, hey, thanks for joining us. If you're there in the gallery, We do appreciate it. Let's get to predicting the games that are coming up. Rams at Panthers. Who you got in that one, Jeff?
I got Eric Eager taking an early vacation because the Panthers are not going to beat the Rams a second time. This is the easiest pick to make. And the first time around, I believe the Rams maybe underestimated them. And I think the Panthers probably played their best game of the year. But Devontae Adams is coming back. You've got the Rams feeling probably a little bit upset they didn't win the division, get a better seed. So I think they go into the Carolina and handle business pretty easily.
Okay. He goes the Rams. Sam, where are you?
I will say one of us had Eric Eager working in January, though, whenever our preseason predictions happened.
Did you have the Panthers in the playoffs?
I did. I had the Panthers in
nice.
the playoffs.
Wow.
Nice.
I had the Bucks going pretty far in the playoffs, so we'll ignore that half of it. But I've got the Rams winning. I can see a path to the Panthers. I mean, the Rams are beat up on their offensive line, especially the interior where, you got Derek Brown there, I think can create some havoc. But, yeah, I mean, the overwhelmingly likelihood is the Rams.
Eric, I want you to enjoy the playoffs. I assume he gets like a playoff bonus, playoff share for everybody in the team. I don't know how that works, but it's been a great run.
It's a hell of an accomplishment.
It's a great accomplishment.
Unbelievable accomplishment. The Panthers are in the playoffs.
That's right. 8-9.
They did a fantastic job, but I think this is the Rams. It would take like a +3 day on the turnovers, and a lot of things would really have to go Carolina's way. I don't think that's going to happen. So I got the Rams moving on as well. Packers at Bears is the late game on Saturday. Jeff, where are you at on this one?
Yeah, I'm surprised the Packers are favored because the Bears, to me, are the better team. And you take away Micah Parsons, and look, I know that Jordan Love's coming back from that concussion, but it just feels like the pass rush is such a huge factor when Parsons was healthy, and now it's not as big a deal. And I think people just don't give the Bears enough credit for being able to play in difficult games. 6 wins when trailing with 2 minutes left, and you found a way to get it done. You mentioned culture with Mike Tomlin and what Ben Johnson has done. Their defense stinks, yeah, but they found ways to win these games. I don't think Green Bay is a good enough team to exploit their flaws, and so I like the Bears.
The Bears, Sam.
This is so hard because I want to fade both of these teams because I don't think either of these teams are any good. The Bears defense is atrocious. And so but the Packers were struggling with Micah Parsons before he got injured. Their defense was fading and their offense hasn't really put it together this year. So I'll very, very reluctantly pick the Bears here because I have to pick one of these two teams. But going into the playoffs, I'd love to pick both of these teams to lose, and you can't do it here.
Hot coordinators hired. The offense is making some things happen. You're winning games. Sounds just like Matt Nagy's run into the playoffs with the Bears. Give me the Pack. Plus, throw on the fact that there's some rumblings about contracts with LaFleur, like maybe they're sideways with the head coach. So that's all the more reason why everybody and their brother is going to be on the Bears. So give me the Packers. Green Bay gets it done. The Bears are left wanting in this one. Early game on Sunday. Buffalo at Jacksonville. Jeff, where do you go on this one?
This is the hardest one for me because I'm a huge Jacksonville fan, and they're probably the most.
Really? Because as long as Sam's going to pat himself on the back, one of us had Jacksonville in the playoffs.
Oh, really?
Being the surprise team. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it was me. Yeah.
Wow.
What was your surprise team, Jeff?
Yeah, I picked the Chiefs to go 11-6. I think I had the lowest record among us. Who was my surprise? I have to go back and look and see. I think it was the Bears. I think I picked the Bears to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took them as a wild card.
Get off his ass, Sam.
Well, I think I picked the Bears too. I wasn't counting that.
Yeah, so that was my surprise team. But
we'll get to that show.
Yeah, I'll go Buffalo here. I'm going to ride that Josh Allen gets it done without Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow in the playoff train. I feel like having experience in difficult games, even losing games, can help you. And Jacksonville hadn't been in the playoffs in a couple of years, and so I like the idea of Buffalo going down there against a good defense and finding a way to get things done. And I look at the Philadelphia game that they played where they lost by 1. The Eagles defense did their job, but the Buffalo defense did their job too. And they didn't allow Saquon Barkley to go crazy. I think they can play up in the postseason. I like Buffalo.
Okay, Sam?
I agree with Jeff. This is the hardest one to pick. I feel like I'm going with vibes and past experience here by picking the Bills, but Jaguars are playing better football recently than the Bills are. And I said this on your show on Tuesday, Soren, but there's going to be a lot of narratives made based on how Josh Allen does in these playoffs.
That's right.
Because he's had the excuse of running into Patrick Mahomes, and that excuse is gone. There's no Joe Burrow. There's no Lamar Jackson. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's going to be a lot of conclusions made about Josh Allen based on how he performs this month. And he goes out this game, which is entirely possible. That noise is going to go really loud in Buffalo about his ability to get it done in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. And I think, though, that the reality is this time of year, those guys do get it done. And I think he does get it done. You got Josh Allen against Trevor Lawrence. I think this is usually where, the great run in the regular season starts to, okay, now it's all the marbles, all the pressure. I do think Jacksonville's playing really well. I liked what Jacksonville had coming in, obviously. But, yeah, give me Josh Allen and the Bills to get it done. I think it'll be a tight game, but this is his time. If he doesn't get it done now, when is he going to get it done? So I'll say he does. He makes it happen. I'll take the better quarterback on this one. Niners are at the Eagles. Two teams not necessarily playing their best football right now. Where you go here, Jeff?
Philly, and it's a reluctant pick. I'm not a huge Philly fan. I just think, God, they've wasted so much of their offensive talent this year. And I don't believe you can just flip the switch and make that happen in the postseason. I go back to that Buffalo game. That's a game where they probably should have unleashed Saquon Barkley, and they only gained 80 yards rushing in that contest. So, but I think San Francisco is so beaten down that I just don't think you can go into the postseason without your stars being at their best and without having as many stars as you need. And they just lost another linebacker last week in the season finale. So you don't have Nick Bosa. You don't have Fred Warner. You don't have a lot of key players. Trent Williams is still kind of banged up. He's going to play, but won't be 100%. Ricky Pearson. There's so many guys that have been banged up. I just think they've gone as far as they can go with this group to win playoff games with what they have. I don't see it happening.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah, I've got the Eagles. The number's a little bit bigger than what I anticipated the number being on this Eagles 49ers game, but I agree with Jeff. I mean, it's 4.5.
Wow.
I think that the 49ers defense is just not good. And it's not good for the reasons Jeff said. Like the injuries that they've had have just made it a patchwork group. I think there's a strong argument for Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year for getting this group to where they are, to having a chance to get the number 1 seed on the week 18. But the reality is their defense. This could be a much lower scoring game, I think, than what people are anticipating. I know 49ers have a good offense. Eagles defense has played really well lately, but you look at that Eagles offense versus 49ers defense matchup, like those are not two great units.
Yeah.
That somebody's going to win that matchup.
I like the Niners and the points.
Yeah.
So listen, you shouldn't bet a dog unless you think they can win outright. I definitely think the Niners can win outright. I think the Eagles have more problems than maybe it looks like. Jalen Hurts has not played well of late, so I'll go ahead and go with I'm gonna have the Niners and the points. I'll go ahead and roll with the Niners to pull the upset here. Everything you guys said is correct, but it's a 1-game deal. We're not going to play 16 games over the course of it, and I don't know. I just I continue to think the Eagles have issues, and at some point that has to show itself. So I'll take the Niners to get it done. I do think Ricky Pearsall playing is an important part of the equation, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But I'll take the Niners. I'll go for the upset on this one. All right. Last one on Sunday, Chargers at Pats. Jeff, what say you?
Well, again, like with the Niners, I think the Chargers, their offensive line problems might be an issue here. I know the Patriots don't have this great defense, great pass rush, but I just think, again, you start not having your dominant players in these kind of games. And I do worry about Justin Herbert. Some of the issues he's had in the postseason, going across the country, banged up hand. It's just another team that has gone as far as they can go with what they've been doing. And it's been a great coaching job, and they've gotten a lot of players to step up. Now, maybe, to Sam's point, the fact that the Patriots haven't played a lot of tough teams and are playing their first playoff game in a long time, maybe that does bite them. But I think West Coast team going east, I'll take the Patriots.
Okay, he's on the Pats. Sam?
Yeah, I considered going with
bombed
the
the
upset.
Pats in our
Well, I
discussion.
I did consider going with I bombed their schedule. I mean, they beat one team with the winning record all year, but
All fair criticisms.
they only played two. So it doesn't mean they can't beat good teams, but they didn't have to beat good teams to get here. But I just don't know if the Chargers are the team that's equipped to take advantage of what the Patriots lack. And the Patriots lack is star power. I mean, Drake May, I think could be maybe the first MVP ever without a fellow Pro Bowler on offense. Like they don't have star players, and usually that's what you want in the playoffs this time of year. But I'm still going to go with the Patriots in the first round here.
Okay, you go with the Pats. That's annoying. I'm on the Pats as well. I want to go Chargers, and for all the things we said about how they've overcome the injuries, I just think it's really difficult. I do think that against Mike Vrabel, he'll find a way to try to expose. I think he'll do a pretty good job of exposing some of your weaknesses. I do think the Pats offense is humming. I think they've got the ground game to stay balanced. So I'll go on the Pats, but I do think the hook is scary if you're betting it. It does feel like a field goal game. Two really good coaches going against each other. So I think it's a tough one to lay 3.5 with the Pats. Like I'd like the Pats a lot more if it were 4.5, because it would show that the odds makers are bigger on that this is not going to come down to just a field goal. So this one's a little bit scary, but I'll take the Pats. Monday Night Football, Houston at Pittsburgh, Texans and Pittsburgh. By the way, the spread on that one is at 3. It's 3 even right now. Where do you go, Jeff?
See, I would expect that spread to be higher because I just don't know. Even though Aaron Rodgers played well the last game and has had a decent run here in the second half of the season, that offense is so one-dimensional as far as not being able to run the football consistently. I don't know how you're going to beat the Texans defense with just Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf and a few other guys trying to make some plays. This is not the Ravens defense out there running around, like blocking Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and they've got a secondary that can deal with Metcalf. It's like you're gonna have to rely on the Pat Freiermuth, and I think the other receiver might be hurt too, right? For the Steelers, 19. Calvin Austin, is he healthy?
I can tell you.
He scored the game winner against the Ravens, right? He was injured against the Browns.
Okay, so he's all right now. Okay, I'm going Texans here, and I think that even though they're not dynamic offensively, I imagine they'll be able to create a lot of issues for Aaron Rodgers and that offense.
Texans.
Yep.
Okay. By the way, no injury designation on Calvin Austin.
Okay.
Sam.
I'm gonna go with the Texans. I mean, I will say the one spot, and I remember talking about this whenever the Chiefs played the Texans. You look at like this area of the field, their pass defense is great. This area of the field, the pass defense is great. And the only spot where they're even average is quick throws as a defense. And that's what Aaron Rodgers has been better at late in the season, is getting rid of the ball quickly and preventing the pass rush from becoming as big of a factor as it is against other teams. And so that's the one spot I could see the Steelers' path to success here, but I feel like they're more threading a needle than the Texans. I expect it to be a fairly low-scoring game, and I've got the Texans.
I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin, and so this may be going with my heart, but I'm going to take the Steelers. They're at home. I don't have any good numbers. You've rattled off all the numbers. All the numbers point to the Texans.
Well, the Texans' offense isn't great. I mean,
yeah, but neither's the Steelers.
Right.
But I listen. I'm a contrarian when it comes to these kind of things. If it's down to 3 or less, and everybody's on one side or the other, then usually find me. And I usually will like to take the dog. And so maybe I'm just falling into my old traps, and this is going to be a Texans defensive route, like 26-9 or something like that. But I'll take the Steelers. I like what they did late against the Ravens. I know the Ravens defense isn't spectacular, but they've got a 2-pronged running back attack. I think both running backs will be there because it's an illness that I forget which one is ill, but one of the two is on the injury report for an illness. I think he should be ready to go. They don't play till Monday. I think that helps. And so I think they found a couple of things. Aaron Rodgers is a big difference off what they've had late in these games lately. I thought he played pretty well against the Ravens, so I'll take the Steelers. We'll see.
Was their last playoff win here? Like when Alex Smith was the quarterback? Like in 16?
It might be here. Hang on, I've got
I
their.
think they haven't had a playoff win in forever, or at least I know they haven't gotten past the wild card round in a long time, but it may go back that far.
Steelers history. Let me see, year by year.
Well,
What
Yeah.
do you remember, Sam?
Yeah, Jeff's right. It was that game against Alex Smith, the field goal game. They won the week before, and then they won here, and they lost the next year to the Jaguars 45-42 in the divisional round when they had they had a bye. Lost the 2020 to the Browns. Obviously lost here in 2021.
Tommy confirmed it twice. Tommy
lost in 23. In fact, they have not played within one score game since the following year in 2017.
So that makes them like what, 1, and since losing the Super Bowl, they'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 1 and 9.
Well,
right?
They won 2 games. They won the week before. They won in Kansas City as well.
Okay,
they're 0-6 since that game.
Wow,
in the playoffs,
and 2-9 since losing the Super Bowl.
And only one of those games is within 11 points.
Then now I love the Steelers.
They call it bold and daring.
I love the Steelers. That's the kind of thing that everybody quotes as they're going up there to put their money down on the Texans. That's all baked into the numbers. So give me the Steelers on that one. Listen, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast by supporting our great sponsors, our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. They've been serving Kansas City for more than 30 years. If you have problems with your parking lot, just give Gann a call. They'll be happy to take care of you. 816-484-3338. You can find them online at GannAsphalt.com. One contractor, all things parking lot. In Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers are Northland Injury Law. They've been serving KC for more than 40 years. Voted KC's #1 accident lawyers. If you've been hurt in an accident, falls, work, personal injuries, if you have a case, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. For Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red Gold.